What if becoming a great leader wasn't about being born with charisma, but about mastering timeless principles? Principles so powerful that they've guided presidents, entrepreneurs, and world changers for over a century. Today, we explore the mind of Napoleon Hill, the author of the iconic Think and Grow Rich, and one of the first people in history to decode success as a formula anyone could follow. Hill dedicated over 25 years of his life to studying the habits and philosophies of the most successful people of his time, people like Andrew Carnegie, Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, and Theodore Roosevelt. From all those interviews and observations, he extracted what he believed were the essential traits of true leadership. Not just traits you're born with, but decisions you make, actions you take, and character you build. According to Hill, leadership is not about commanding others. It's about inspiring them through personal example, unwavering integrity, and clarity of purpose. Great leaders are not driven by ego or fear. They are fueled by vision, courage, and the desire to serve something bigger than themselves. Hill identified 11 key principles that define a strong leader. These principles are not abstract or idealistic. They are practical and deeply human. If you apply them, step by step, they will transform the way you lead others and yourself. The first of these principles is unwavering courage. Hill believed that no one can become a true leader without it. But this isn't blind bravery. It's a quiet, consistent confidence that comes from deep knowledge of who you are and of what you're doing. People won't follow someone who's unsure of themselves. They will follow someone who moves forward despite fear, because they trust their mission. True courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action in spite of it. The second principle is self-control. Hill saw this as non-negotiable. If you can't control yourself, your emotions, your impulses, your reactions, how can you expect to lead anyone else? Great leaders stay calm under pressure. They think before they speak. They act with intention, not reaction. They don't let anger or ego lead their decisions. Self-control creates consistency, and consistency builds trust. The third principle is a keen sense of justice. This means fairness. It means treating people with respect, regardless of their position or background. Hill believed that the foundation of leadership is trust, and trust only grows when people believe they are being treated with honesty and fairness. A leader who plays favorites, who manipulates, or who judges unfairly, will always lose the loyalty of their team. But a leader who leads with fairness inspires fierce loyalty, and loyalty creates results. These first three principles, courage, self-control, and justice, are deeply connected. Courage gives you the strength to act. Self-control guides how you act. And justice determines why you act. Together, they form the emotional foundation of true leadership. But they are only the beginning. In the next section, we'll continue this journey through Napoleon Hill's timeless leadership code, diving into the next three principles that every leader must master if they want to move from ordinary to unforgettable. As we continue exploring Napoleon Hill's timeless formula for leadership, we move from the emotional foundation, courage, self-control, and justice, into principles that shape how a leader interacts with others and drives progress. These next three qualities form the bridge between internal strength and external influence. Without them, leadership stalls. With them, leadership inspires action. The fourth principle is definiteness of decision. Hill believed that effective leaders make decisions quickly and clearly, and then stick to them. Indecision is one of the greatest enemies of progress. It creates doubt, confusion, and ultimately, failure. People don't follow uncertainty. They follow clarity. They want to know that their leader has made a decision, is confident in that decision, and is moving forward with purpose. That doesn't mean leaders can't change their minds. But those changes must be based on new information, not fear, pressure, or insecurity. When a leader hesitates, the entire team hesitates. When a leader decides, momentum begins. Closely connected to this is the fifth principle, definiteness of plans. Decision without a plan is just wishful thinking. Hill stressed that a leader must not only know what they want, but also how they're going to get there. Plans give structure to vision. They turn dreams into action steps. Of course, plans may fail. That's inevitable. But as Hill wrote, a leader must plan the work and work the plan. And if the plan doesn't work, a true leader adjusts the plan, never the goal. In a world full of vague ideas and uncertain paths, A leader who communicates a clear strategy instantly stands apart. The sixth principle is the habit of doing more than paid for. This may seem old-fashioned, but it's one of the most powerful leadership traits. Hill called it going the extra mile. It means giving more than you take, contributing value before expecting a return, showing your team that you're not just there to give orders, but to serve alongside them. This creates loyalty, respect, and most importantly, trust. People notice when you go beyond what's expected. They feel it, and they mirror it. A leader who does more than they're paid for sets a standard that elevates the entire group. These three principles, decisiveness, planning, and going the extra mile, are all about action. They build momentum. They create structure. They demonstrate integrity. And they prove that leadership is not about position, but about consistent behavior. A leader doesn't just talk, they execute. They lead by doing, not demanding. And they hold themselves to the highest standard before asking it of anyone else. With 6 principles behind us, we've laid the foundation for powerful leadership. We've explored the inner strength, the mindset, and the habits that allow a leader to rise above the crowd. But we're not done yet. In the next section, we'll go even deeper into the heart of leadership, uncovering the personal qualities that transform a good leader into a legendary one. Get ready, because the next 3 traits you're about to discover are what truly separate average from exceptional. True leadership doesn't just come from what you do, it radiates from who you are. After building a foundation of courage, self-control, justice, decisiveness, strategic planning, and the willingness to go the extra mile, Napoleon Hill takes us into the next layer of leadership. The traits that shape a leader's identity, the qualities that define how you're perceived by others, and more importantly, how you see yourself when no one is watching. The 7th principle is a pleasing personality. Now, this doesn't mean being fake, overly charming, or trying to win everyone's approval. For Hill, a pleasing personality was about authenticity, consistency, and warmth. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing who you are and treating others with genuine respect. Leaders with a pleasing personality naturally attract support, because people want to be around them. They listen without judgment. They speak with purpose. They make others feel seen, heard, and valued. In a world full of noise and ego, this kind of presence is magnetic. And it's not about being perfect, it's about being real. Leaders don't have to impress everyone. They just have to make those around them feel like they matter. From personality, we move to the 8th principle, sympathy and understanding. These are not signs of weakness. In fact, they are signs of emotional intelligence and human strength. Hill believed that the best leaders are those who genuinely care. They don't just manage, they empathize. They take the time to understand the struggles, motivations, and perspectives of the people they lead. When a leader shows empathy, they earn trust. And with trust comes commitment. Too many people mistake leadership for control. But control without compassion breeds resentment. Great leaders inspire by making people feel safe, valued, and supported. Sympathy and understanding don't mean lowering standards, they mean raising your ability to connect. And that leads directly to the 9th principle, mastery of detail. Because even with courage, empathy, and charm, without attention to detail, leadership collapses. Hill observed that great leaders know what's happening in every corner of their vision. They don't micromanage, but they're aware. They notice. They care about the small things because they understand how small things create big outcomes. Attention to detail means you follow through. You don't make empty promises. You prepare before meetings. You notice who's quiet in the room. You correct small errors before they become big problems. When people see that their leader is committed to excellence, even in the little things, they rise to that level as well. What's powerful about these 3 principles is how they work together. A pleasing personality builds approachability. Sympathy and understanding build connection. And mastery of detail builds credibility. Together, they form what Hill saw as the human essence of leadership, the traits that make people want to follow you not just because they have to, but because they choose to. In today's world, leadership is often reduced to noise. Bold statements, big egos, fast decisions. But Napoleon Hill knew that the leaders who last, the ones who create real impact, are the ones who lead with heart and precision. If you want to influence others, you have to earn it. And you earn it not by shouting louder or being tougher, but by showing up fully, by caring more than most, by being just as invested in the people as you are in the result. This is where leadership becomes legacy. It's not just about results, it's about relationships. It's not just about strategy, it's about soul. As we close this third section, we now stand on a structure built from 9 powerful principles. Principles that begin within and radiate outward. Courage, control, justice, decisiveness, planning, generosity, personality, empathy, precision. And yet, Hill's formula isn't complete. There are still 2 more traits that tie all the others together. Traits that elevate leadership from strong to unshakable. And in the next and final section, we will explore these last 2 principles. They are not just additions to the list, they are the final test. The ones that determine whether a leader remains strong when the pressure rises. The ones that make a leader unforgettable. As we arrive at the final stretch of Napoleon Hill's philosophy of leadership, we are no longer simply building a list of traits. We are assembling a complete framework, a living, breathing model of what it means to lead with strength, intention, and humanity. The previous 9 principles laid the foundation for a leader's inner world and outward actions. Now, Hill brings us to the final 2. These are not just the finishing touches. They are the pressure tests. The moments when leadership either folds or becomes legendary. The 10th principle is willingness to assume full responsibility. This is the moment when a true leader separates from the crowd. Because when things go wrong, and they will, most people look for someone to blame. But not the leader. The leader owns it. The leader says, "This happened on my watch. It's my responsibility to fix it." That doesn't mean taking the fall for every mistake, but it means creating a culture of accountability that begins at the top. When a leader accepts responsibility, they model what they expect from everyone else: maturity, ownership, and integrity. Hill was clear: no one can lead others if they are constantly deflecting blame. You might gain authority, but you'll lose respect. People don't follow titles. They follow character. And nothing reveals character more clearly than how you respond when the outcome is not what you hoped for. Taking responsibility isn't weakness. It's the ultimate form of strength. Because when you own the problem, you also own the power to change it. And that brings us to the 11th and final principle: cooperation. Leadership is not a solo performance. It is not domination. It is not a one-person show. True leadership is built on partnership. Hill believed that without cooperation, even the most talented leader will eventually fail. Cooperation is about creating harmony among people who think differently, work differently, and see the world through different lenses. It's about uniting individuals into a team that trusts one another and moves in the same direction. The best leaders are those who invite input, encourage dialogue, and build consensus without losing clarity. They listen to ideas that challenge their own. They recognize that leadership is not about being the smartest person in the room, it's about making the room smarter. And cooperation doesn't just happen. It must be cultivated. It starts with respect. It grows through communication. And it's sustained by shared purpose. Without it, there is no loyalty, no longevity, no legacy. When you combine all 11 of Napoleon Hill's leadership principles, something powerful happens. You no longer see leadership as a title or a technique, but as a way of being, a path, a practice, a lifelong discipline. It's about leading first with self, then with others. It's about mastering your emotions, making decisions with clarity, acting with discipline, building relationships with care, and above all, standing for something greater than yourself. Courage, self-control, justice, decisiveness, planning, service, personality, empathy, precision, responsibility, cooperation. This is the formula. And what makes it timeless is that it's not tied to any industry, any trend, or any single definition of success. It applies whether you're leading a team, a business, a family, or even just yourself. Because leadership isn't something you're given, it's something you become. It's not something you wait for, it's something you choose, every single day. So if you've ever wondered what it takes to be a great leader, stop looking outside. The answer begins within. With who you are, how you think, and what you do when no one is watching. Napoleon Hill didn't just write about success, he gave us the inner blueprint. And leadership, as he saw it, was the cornerstone. Not loud, not forceful, but disciplined, grounded, humble, clear, inspiring, and deeply human. The question now is simple. Will you just learn these principles, or will you live them? Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more leaders. Real ones. And maybe, just maybe, that leader is you.